Welcome to Riverdale Senior Services to our two-part workshop. It's November 5th and the 12th, and a workshop on advanced directives in collaboration with Metropolitan Jewish Hospice or Health Services and Riverdale Senior Services. I'm Liz Alvarado. I am the Deputy Director here and Director of Clinical Services, and I oversee the Social Adult Day Program, ADAPT, for memory loss. So I'm very happy to see everyone. I wrote a lot down because this is a topic that you have a lot to say, and I've been in the field over 25 years as a social worker, as a medical social worker, and then I've had the privilege and honor of working for the two largest hospices in New York. That's where I know Miriam from. We were colleagues in the program. So I've walked this journey with many families, and I've learned a lot of lessons. So I'm just going to impart a little bit of my wisdom and some of my comments for you today before Miriam jumps in. So, of course, in my career, I had the privilege of learning from some of the leading organizations in the field of advanced care planning and end-of-life care. However, they've been the teachers for me in the critical importance of advanced directives. Even before my professional experience, I recognized the value of planning. Let's just sit with that for a second. The value of planning. As a young Latina single mother of 3 young children and a social worker by profession, I executed my own advanced directive back in 1995. How many years is that? 30 years, and I'm still here. And I say that because this conversation, we also have to consider culture, right? And belief systems. And there are cultures in the eastern part of the world that believe that if you talk about advanced directives, you're inviting in the worst case scenario, death will happen faster. Does that resonate? It's the reality. I still remember my family's response. It was priceless and a little funny. Is everything all right? When I executed my advanced directive and I shared with my family what my wishes were. Are you sick? That moment reminded me how rare it was then and now for families to openly discuss and plan for end-of-life care and talk about their wishes. Throughout my professional journey, I have learned to sit calmly with individuals and families facing serious illness, listening to anticipatory grief, fears, and existential questions that arise at life's most vulnerable moments. I have firsthand what can happen when there's no clear understanding of a person's wishes. Families experience stress, trauma, guilt, and complicated grief, often asking themselves, did I make the right decision? These experiences reinforce how essential it is to have these conversations and put our wishes in writing. When individuals take the time to clarify and document their wishes, families experience peace, clarity, and connection. They can focus on caring and honoring, not guessing or second guessing. We live in a society that plans for everything: college, weddings, retirement, but rarely plans for the one most certain parts of life, which is death. In many ways, we are a death-denying society, yet talking about planning for the end of life doesn't take away hope or joy. It brings comfort, clarity, and peace of mind. That is why RSS and Metropolitan Jewish Health Services have come together today to offer you this two-part workshop to help you learn, reflect, and take meaningful steps towards documenting your wishes for care. And now I will hand it off to Miriam. Thank you.
You said it all. You said it all. There's not much for me to add.
Naturally, you have a lot to add.
Anyway, so I'm Miriam Rabner, and I have been working for MJHS, which is an abbreviation for Metropolitan Jewish Health System, for the past 20 years. I started out as a volunteer in their hospice department in a residence that we had in the Atria building in Riverdale proper. And within a year, I was approached about becoming an employee as a community outreach person, as a liaison to the community. And I said, no, forget it. I don't want to work. I just survived a major illness. My children are out of the house and I'm going to travel. And they said, come in for a meeting just to brainstorm a little bit. And of course, after the meeting, I signed on the dotted line and I came home and I had a job. The benefit for us in the Riverdale community, those who come to this center, is that I live in Riverdale myself. So I can observe the demographics. I know many people from different venues, and there is a quick established connection that we have just because we're geographically so close. So I work mostly for hospice and palliative care. Please don't shrink away. Don't be frightened by these terms, because I'm here today to talk about living and living fully and living with meaning and living, incorporating our traditions, our cultural beliefs, our faith beliefs, our familiar connections for as long as we can. Nobody knows when it's going to end. And COVID taught us something, that death and dying is not age related. And my son is a physician, my other son is an attorney, and this is a Jewish mother bragging a little bit. They told me that during COVID, they got called in both professions for people in a crisis. Their loved one needs to be on a vent, or their loved one doesn't know what treatments to follow, and they never had spoken about it, what's going to happen. And you know what? There were people in their early 30s who had to make decisions, or whose families had to make decisions, and the families had no idea. And so what I'm talking about is, and Liz stressed it already, this is a gift of love to plan ahead. Whether we live alone and don't have family, as happens more and more, whether we have outlived our family, or whether we have family, we need to express our wishes, because we don't know when things can happen. You can be hit by a car crossing the street, unanticipated catastrophic event. Who is going to make decisions for you? If you have not discussed it, and if you have not selected a healthcare agent, a surrogate who could speak for you, if and when you can no longer speak for yourself, and only then, either you passed out or you have the beginnings of dementia and you won't be able to plan long term, or if you have an illness that is not going to end well, it could be over several years. Who will speak for you if you do not make your wishes clear? It can happen that you go to an ER because you went to Key Food and you fell and you passed out temporarily, but you're very confused, and they take you to the ER and they don't know who you are from Adam, and they don't have any information in your wallet or in your phone who your healthcare agent is, whom to call. So a doctor or a nurse practitioner who's never met you is going to make a life-changing decision for you. They're going to intubate you, even though that's not really what you want. So this is just to stress how important it is to reflect and then to document what your wishes are. It's your show. You're directors of your own show. It's an empowering feeling. I'm not here to scare you. And when we're born, nobody asks us really what are the circumstances and where you're going to live and do you have warm clothes and are you going to be fed. But after a long life, and I'm stressing long, hopefully, we have a chance to manage how we exit. And how we exit is most often a reflection on how we live. So, talking about living in our show, and it is a gift to myself. Let's be a little selfish too, because once we've thought about it and had the conversation with ourselves, and I'm not saying these are easy conversations, and I'm not saying this is a one-time conversation. As we get older, my wishes at 60 were different than they are now that I'm in my 70s. And they're going to change as I hopefully progress towards 80. What was important to me at 50 may not be so important anymore when I'm 80. But still, who knows about it unless we share it, unless we ourselves have the conversation. And people laugh at me. I say sometimes when I shave my legs, I start thinking about it. And then I say to myself, no, 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 don't go there. And then I catch myself an hour later and I say, what are you so afraid of? The angel's death is not going to come because I'm thinking about it. Okay? But it's important that everybody knows what I really want. So I'm going to talk about strengthening ourselves as an individual and strengthening our relationship with the people whom we trust and love. It could be a neighbor. It could be a social worker. It could be somebody you sit with at church or at synagogue whom you started to bond with. And of course, it is with family. And with family, it's a difficult conversation. There is one more chair here. We could move it over there if somebody wants it. So have the conversation with yourself. Go there. And if you start to get sentimental and cry a little bit, that's okay. Because it is a very weighty topic. Not necessarily sad. For some people, death opens the road to an afterlife or to a release from problems, from issues that have burdened them, or secrets that they have carried with them, or guilt. So confront it, maybe several times. And then once you're ready, and once you've gone to a sometimes troubling or difficult or complex place, and you want to share your wishes, set it up. I told my kids, what are we doing for Thanksgiving a few years ago? And they said, we don't want to talk about your wishes again, Mom. We just want to have turkey and stuffing and pies and everything. Okay. We know what you want because just like Liz, I started talking to my children very early on. I think it was colored because my mother died when I was 14 years old, and I was left very bereft, not just emotionally, about her values, about her entire life history. Yes, I knew the names of my uncles and grandparents, but what guided her in the end when she was treated for cancer? Was it done the way she had wanted it? Or was it done because she was young and the family was in a crisis and my father made decisions and her brother had suggestions and her sister came? And I was always wondering, and now I'm in my 70s, I'm still wondering, what would mommy have wanted to be done to her? And why did she not talk to me about it, even though I was so young? There is this sense, especially in the generation of my parents, that we want to protect our children at all costs. Don't bring up any burden. Don't bring up any sad conversation. It's a disservice. Kids want to know. We're all in a conspiracy kind of silence. We don't want to bring it up lest we burden our loved ones. They don't want to bring it up because it means they're disrespectful, or they think something is going to happen, or mom might think we want to get rid of her prematurely. And so nobody goes there, and it hangs in the air. So don't delay, don't deny, don't postpone, and don't be afraid. Going to a serious topic and decision making requires courage. But I don't see teenagers here. We are of a certain age. We have gained wisdom. We are living a life, and we can handle thinking about what's in store when we do decline. I talked about, I made some notes. Some of you might remember Nancy Cruzan and Karen Ann Quinlan, who were young women in the 90s, 85, Karen Ann Quinlan. And I believe she had a major stroke or an aneurysm. Here was a woman in her 30s. Nobody had prepared. She herself had never thought something catastrophic would happen to her. There were no wishes. The husband felt that he was going to let her go if she was comfortable. The family said, no, we have to intervene. We have to feed her artificially. And because there was no healthcare agent designated, and because she had never written down her wishes, this played out in public. This was in the media, on TV. The most undignified ending for a person who deserved to be treated with respect and whose voice deserved to be heard. So learn from this. We don't have to re-experience everything. That's something that I always tell my children. I made plenty of mistakes. Learn from my mistakes already, and don't go down the same way, the same path. Putting our loved ones in a crisis situation when we have a serious diagnosis, or when we have an accident, or we are losing our mental capabilities and independence, is not fair. You're doing a disservice. It's not a sign of love. I've been to many, many inpatient units and many emergency rooms where decisions about next medical steps have to be made, and the family is at a loss. And dynamics that haven't been perfect in the past, all of a sudden resurface. All of a sudden, the one son insists we have to feed mom artificially, or we have to give her dialysis for the rest of her life. And the sister said, no, you never liked mom. Okay, you don't have her best interest. You just want to have her continue living at home because you are living with her and you don't want to pay the rent. Stuff comes up, and stuff comes up where people don't know medical information. They don't know, what does it mean if we are intubating artificially, letting somebody breathe, what that means. So another aspect of making good decisions is being informed, being health literate, we call it in the professional lingo. You have to know what is out there in terms of intervention. You have to know what it means to be fed artificially. You have to know what it means when they put a breathing tube into you. It's not like on TV where in the next episode of a medical show, the patient walks around in a beautiful robe in full makeup. That's not how it happens, okay? You have to know whether you want to be resuscitated, because if you fall at home and nobody knows what you want, an EMT is called to supersedes you're not well, or a neighbor or an aide who lives with you, or a family member, and they're going to call 911, those emergency medical technicians by law have to put a tube into you to breathe. It's ugly. Yes, many times it buys some time, but it can break ribs. It can be very uncomfortable. You have to know that, and that's going to influence your decisions. Sorry. You're not interrupting. And so I said, to be informed is important, and to evaluate every few years is important too. And when we do designate a healthcare agent, and I'm going to come how we should select it, we have to know that nothing is forever. That if we have a falling out with that person, or if that person gets ill or loses their mental acuity, we are free to revoke. I have Sharpies next to my advanced care proxies, and I could just cross out, right, revoke, and name somebody else. But how do we go about finding that person? That's not easy. Not all of us are blessed with families. People who live alone have a bit of a harder challenge in finding a person whom they can trust. And so cast a wide net. Who is a trusted friend, or as I said, a neighbor, or somebody you know from the center? Your doctor should not be your healthcare agent. That's not a good idea. But maybe a social worker or a geriatric care manager whom you might hire just for that person can be. And looking ahead, we all hope to live long. Let's not take somebody who's 10 years older than us, because the likelihood of them deteriorating or not wanting that responsibility because they're busy with their own healthcare needs, they're busy with family, they're busy with having to move to an assisted living, or they're busy because they've been widowed and they don't pick somebody who's a bit younger. There are no guarantees that they're going to live well and outlive us, but it is, according to the laws of nature, a better opportunity. Okay? And whom do we pick? Do you think we should pick the best friend or the daughter whom we're closest to? What do you think? I'm challenging you. Well, Liz doesn't count. She's raising her hand.
I was going to say that question brings a lot of emotional, challenges. And there are families and scenarios where, because you didn't pick somebody in the family, pick somebody outside of the family, it hurts people's feelings.
Right. So we have to have another conversation. And we also may want to turn to a faith leader, to a spiritual guide. I believe in a special doctrine, or I'm a Bible-abiding person. What does my rabbi, what does my priest suggest? Religiously, spiritually, what works for me? How can I find my place that reflects what I believe in? Can you advise me? Can you help me sort it out? Okay. And then you have the dreaded, what I call, family meeting. It's not just for family, it's for family of choice. It's for people whom we trust and we love. And we get them together. And as I said, I had it several times during Thanksgiving dinner so that my kids are sick of it. And we called them together. And we are still capable of mediating these conversations, because not everybody whom we love and whom we would have in this inner circle, in this sacred space, is on the same page. Some people feel You have to prolong life at all costs. Some people feel religiously bound to do certain things. Some people have family jealousies. I was at a deathbed, and two daughters were there. And the mother said, I love you both. And she said, no, you loved Hetty more because when you bought us coats when we were girls, I wanted the red one and you let Hetty have it. And I was stuck with the blue one. This is not, I'm not making it up. People carry grudges and resentments, or you have a daughter who did not get married or a son and stayed and took care of a parent, and the others built a life for themselves and went to college out of town and then followed their dream career. And the one who was at home feels I have a prerogative. And in many Asian cultures, the firstborn son makes the decision, even if there are 5 or 6 other children. That is culturally mandated. And we have to accept that, and we have to respect that, and we have to help people navigate that. And that's our role. And just saying, oh, work this out later, or, I've been doing this professionally for 20 years. When I spoke to my own father who lived in Europe, I said, Dad, he was in his 90s, who is going to make the decisions for you? Like, I live in America, you live in Europe. And he said to me, you'll know what to do. And I said, no, I don't know what to do. I won't know what to do. He said, of course, the child, I'm in my 50s, child, you will know what to do. You know. And I said, no, I need to have specifics. Do you want to be hospitalized towards end of life? Do you want everything to be done, heroic intervention? Would you prefer to be in your bed? Is it okay if we hire a woman to come help you? And he refused to engage. My father was a very erudite, very with it man, but that topic was just so toxic and so scary to him. So we have to persist. And I did persist. And I said, I hope you live another 10 years because I need you. But if you really love me and respect me as a person and as a decision maker, when you can no longer make the decision, you have to fill me in. You have to tell me exactly. And I cried. Believe me, I cried. It was sad to think I'm not going to have a father. That's what we're discussing. That moment where we're going to separate ways. He's going to go to another world, and I'm going to stay on this side of the bridge. But we have to stay in it. And that's what I'm empowering you to do while you're still able. Run the conversation. Ask those who are in the room, whether it's children or good friends, to be supportive of each other. When the designated healthcare agent makes a decision, don't say, that's not what you would have wanted. How could you do that? Say, I know this is tough, but she said that's what she wanted, and we're going to respect it. So that is your role. You have to navigate the conversation, and you have to comfort, because people are going to cry. And my own son, the first time I went to speak to him, said, la, 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 I'm not going to listen. He was 18. I said, you're not a baby. I hope to live many, many more years. But this needs to be discussed, and you have to hear it. And many years later, when I revisited it, that same son, my firstborn son, said, don't worry, Mom, I know what to do. I'm going to unplug you from the machine. And I said, that's exactly the wrong thing to say to me, because I said specifically, I don't want to be hooked up to any breathing machine. So don't tell me you're going to unhook me, because that's a criminal act. You're going to go to jail in New York City for sure. And second of all, did you hear anything that I said to you? You didn't hear. But he and I have a very special relationship, a firstborn prince, okay? And I don't think he would be able to let me go when the time comes. And so I said to him, wrong answer. And you're not going to be my healthcare agent. Not because I love you less, not because you gave the wrong answer, because we have a special bond. And I don't think in a crisis, A, you would be able to make tough decisions. I think you would be emotionally flipping out. And B, I don't think you would want to let me go. And so I made his younger brother my healthcare agent. And we were very open about it. I said, these are the reasons why, but please support him. Promise that whatever he decides, if I can no longer speak for myself, that you will support him and that you will remember the words that I said and that he is just following my wishes. He's not randomly making a decision. He's looking at my life. He's looking at my personality. He's listening to the words that I said, the words that are in a document, because I did document, and he's following my wishes. It's a great act of obedience, actually, and of respect and love. So be very mindful of whom you pick and ask that person, are you willing and capable emotionally, intellectually, culturally to follow my wishes and to speak on my behalf? It's a gift of love. And once you've discussed it, and once everybody, I'm not saying has to be on the same page, but respects it and accepts it, even if you yourself feel, but you can promise to follow the wishes and the orders, you will see that there is a sense of peace in the family. And I'll tell you from my own experience, every time my mother-in-law came to visit from Florida, a woman in her 90s, I was so scared. What if she falls in my home? Or what if she has a stroke on this trip visiting us? And I don't know what she wants. My son approached her on her 90th birthday. And you know, the younger generation sometimes can be very forward and they don't have the inhibitions that we have, or they are not treading as respectfully as we used to. And he said, Grandma, what happens to you if you fall or if you have a stroke? Who is going to make the decisions? And she said, I'm so glad you asked. I didn't want to bring it up. You guys are so busy. You're in graduate school. Your parents work so hard. I never wanted to discuss it lest I burden you. Well, we didn't want to discuss it lest she thinks I want to get rid of her. I'm the daughter-in-law, right? We had the conversation. My son became her health care surrogate. My son was 32 years old. She asked him, can you handle it? They had a very close relationship. He said, I'll be very sad, but I'll do what you're telling me to do. But let's go to an attorney, an elder care attorney, and let's fill out all the forms. And as she lay dying at home in her own bed at 95 plus, they asked for permission to give her a little bit of morphine because she was gasping for air. And I said, sure. And her sons were there, my husband. Sure. And they said, we have to speak to the healthcare agent. And they called her grandson, the 35 by then year old guy. And he said, yes, anything to make her ending peaceful. That's what she wants. She wants to be in her own bed. She wants to have a little bit of music. She wants her children to be there. So that's what I consider a good death. And that's what I wish for myself and for anybody whom I accompany on this journey. I've been with many families and many patients. And I wish you all a very long life. But I wish you also to have a good death when it comes at 130. Okay, let's push it out there. I want to give you a little example of something, a scenario, and I want to see your reaction. An 86-year-old male doctor who had just recently retired from a very prestigious hospital and who was sailing and even playing some tennis and who was biking and getting together with his children and grandchildren on a regular basis, out of the blue had a major stroke. Major. And he was incapacitated, and they took him to the hospital where he had been the chairman of a surgical department. A man in a diaper now, a man who couldn't swallow, couldn't move, obviously couldn't make any decisions. His wife had asked him for years to designate somebody to make healthcare decisions. They have 4 children. She said, if you don't want me, because I'm also already older, take one of the kids. No, let's just enjoy life. I'll get to it. I'll get around to it. Look at me. We're sailing. We're traveling all over America. No, I'll do it at some point. Well, they're sitting in the hospital, and the wife, who was married for 60 years to him, said, I want to let him go slowly. Let nature take its course. One son said, no, I won't allow it. I'll take you to court. I want Dad to be artificially fed, and I want him intubated. Intubation means they put the tube into you. It presses air into you, but you have to be sedated because the pressure of the air is very uncomfortable. So it's not that you're going to watch TV with the family and you're going to have conversations. You're going to be pretty much just lying there in bed and having everything done for your body. We don't even know how the brain is obviously damaged. And so there was a tremendous family fight. There was discourse in the family, in this most holy place when they needed to be united and comfort each other and support each other and take leave of this beloved father figure. There was strife. He was moved to a long-term care facility for 3 months. He lived more or less. He took up space. I can't even say he lived a life because everything was done for him. The breathing, he was sedated, he was being fed, he was incontinent. And the wife told me the story. She said, I prayed every day that he would have a heart attack because this was not what he would have wanted. And this is not how he lived his life, with meaning, with purpose, with dignity. Dignity. And he had a heart attack. And 3 months later, he died. They had huge bills for the long-term care facility. They hired aides who could be there during the night when they couldn't be there, and aides who did certain things to a person that we, as their loved ones, should not have to do. I don't think an older person would want necessarily for their children to change their soiled diaper. It's about dignity and respect, even then, that needs to be honored and maintained. So, tell me what went wrong. How could this have been prevented? You know, many of you are nodding. What did it buy this doctor? 3 months of an existence.
It's the irony of being a physician
Yes.
and realizing, seeing this day to day and not executing his own advanced directive.
Right. And especially surgeons
Yes.
want to fix things. Right? Doctors want to fix, and doctors don't want to take away hope. I don't want to take away hope either. But to give chemotherapy to somebody who is clearly dying is not a service. It's not a loving act of do no harm. So recently, an acquaintance of mine, a member of the Riverdale community, was declining. He had fought cancer and lived with cancer as a chronic disease for 15 years, but he was going downhill. And he was able to say, I want to go home. Please call hospice and have all my grandchildren come. I want to see everybody. I want to give them a blessing. Even if I can't talk, we could sit and hold hands. And that's what happened. And he died at home with the family around, and they were singing lullabies, and they were singing liturgical texts that he had deep faith, and they supported that. And every day that they were together was still meaningful. It was sad. There was a lot of crying. Sometimes the wife said, I can't be here. It's so heavy. And she went out to her room and she had a good cry. She said at one time she put on the shower and she just screamed, why is this happening? But she gathered her strength. She went back. They held hands. And he died the way he had lived, peacefully surrounded by love. So those are considerations that I wanted to look at and to internalize. And then, as I said, I'm giving you the power to be the directors of your own decision-making and of your own show. I brought certain forms. The 5 wishes is a living will document. And I'm sorry, the people on Zoom can come to the office and get it, or you can download it from the internet, the 5 wishes. It asks very gentle questions that help you go in certain directions. And nothing is irrelevant. I tell you, in my 5 wishes, I put that I don't want to be in a hospital gown when my end comes. I don't like it when my butt sticks out for everybody to see. I want to be in a nice pajama or in a nightgown. I want someone to come and wax my upper lip when I need it. I always had a pedicure with nice nail polish in my life. I want to have that at end of life also. That's who I am. That's the dignity of Miriam. I want that maintained. I want people to come and see me. I want my grandchildren to be in bed with me. Anything you want. I know where I want to be buried. It's all documented. Because my kids and my husband and my sister and whoever my friends are who love me are going to miss me, are going to be sad. I don't want to burden them with all kinds of decision making. Would you want this? Did you want that? I want everybody to wear red to my funeral. Okay? Because red is my favorite color.
Me too.
Yeah.
Mine.
So nothing is silly. Nothing. It's about who you are. And of course, the bigger questions. Do I want to be on dialysis? Do I want to be fed artificially, either through the nose or through the stomach? All these things. That's who makes us who we are. We're not just a patient, and we're not just a frivolous person. We are a complete package, and everything can be considered. And bring it up. If you, when I said, and I want a pedicure, one of my sons said, Mom. I said, don't mom me, okay? I want to have a pedicure. So bring somebody to the house if I can't go anyplace. I don't want to necessarily be in a wheelchair. If I can't read books anymore, for me, my life has very little meaning. Remember that. Don't just keep me going and going and going. And don't infantilize me. And don't say, oh, she's so old, she doesn't understand what's happening, or she doesn't know what we could do for her. Be informed. Don't let anybody talk down to you. You're old. Hi, sweetie. Don't call me sweetie. Call me by my name. Advocate for yourself and make good decisions. And hopefully you'll be granted a long life. Okay? If you have any questions, I'll take them.
I don't remember what year this happened, but it was the Long Island Railroad tragedy.
Right. The shooting. Mm-hmm.
Well, there was one 27-year-old lady named Amy, and Amy apparently had made her wishes.
Wow.
And they saved several people with her organs. And, it was a tragedy, but then really motivated me to sign the organ donor card, because you never know. You never know.
I'm going to share something very personal. I'm a cancer survivor. I mentioned it to you.
Wow.
And my son was diagnosed at 28 with cancer as well. And on the way to the surgery, he said where he wanted to be buried. He was driving. My husband was in the front, I was in the back. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It's my child. And I said, listen, I hope it won't come to that now. But I promise you, if things don't work out, we will respect your wishes. And I knew then, as hard as it was, that I would keep my promise. That I had the strength and the respect for him and the love and also the guidance that he just gave me. And he is now 42 and he has 2 children. But I have a folder with his will and his living will and everything in my house, because he didn't just talk about it. He went to an attorney after his surgery. It was a little late. We should have done it before, but time was of the essence, and he did it. And I always admired him for it. And it makes me proud of who he is. And of course, I take a lot of credit because I work in this field. So he heard this. No, do it. It's a gift. It's a gift for yourself, and it's a gift to anybody who will speak for you and who loves you and who will miss you. And as Liz said, they won't have to second guess, should I, could I, what, this, that. They'll know I followed orders, even if I didn't love it all the time. I followed the orders and I respected their wishes. Are there any questions? No?
Question. Considering, that's when I'm attending the workshop, considering how I'm gonna find the care agent. Because I know, because of certain things that happened in my family, it was like a wake-up call.
Yeah.
They will not make the right decision for me. So do you think I will be able to find her? Because I don't know anyone.
Yes. Oh, yes. The lady with the polka dot.
Yes.
I have polka dot socks, so I feel very connected already. Asked, she witnessed dynamics in her family, and she knows that her family is not going to be a reliable source of support and of decision making. How is she going to find somebody whom she can trust and who will respect her wishes? I said it before, it's tough. You have to cast a wide net and you have to consider close friends. You can also ask the social worker who is here, either for a referral to a geriatric care manager or to another social worker. I don't know if the social workers here are allowed to become healthcare agents, but it is a challenge. If you belong to a faith community, maybe there is somebody there. If you go to a clinic or a doctor's office, the doctor should not be your healthcare agent, even though a doctor should always be informed about your wishes so that they're on the same page. And they should even have a copy of whatever you're documenting in their files. It is a challenge. I know somebody in Manhattan who didn't have anybody. Her doorman had become a very good friend to her over the 20 years that she lived in the building. Yes, it was a more professional relationship, but he had always been so wonderfully respectful and helped her when she had broken the hip and she came home for convalescence, and she asked the doorman. So think outside the box. Okay?
If you don't know someone long distance, that would be a possibility. too.
Yes. So with the long distance healthcare agents, it's a possibility. And I recommend in general that you have a secondary healthcare agent, okay? Somebody who is a primary and who lives in Nevada or who travels a lot for work may not be reachable immediately. So have a secondary, if you could come up with somebody and discuss that and tell them you're my secondary. I had to do that with my children. I took my younger son as my primary. And I said, if you're not reachable because you are in South Africa on a safari, who knows what life can do, then it goes to the secondary. Selecting a healthcare agent is not an easy task. You have to give it a lot of thought and you have to have a conversation with that person. And if you strike out, the friendship or the relationship doesn't have to be over. You just say, I understand and I accept it and nothing's changed between us. And I appreciate your honesty. And I'm going to look for somebody else. Thank you for listening to me. And thank you for being honest with me. Doesn't mean they don't like you. You know, so many people have said, and I tried, and my friend said no, and now I'm not talking to her. Why? You should respect her for being honest and for being able to say, I'm not going to be fully present for you. Don't count on me. It's too big for me. Please. That's an honorable thing to say instead of just saying, sure, sure, sure. And then they're being crushed by the obligation.
I have a question. Can you have a lawyer
Yes.
be, okay, thank you.
Go ahead, whoever.
This document is the healthcare proxy.
For New
and
York
then-
State only.
I know I had one in California. It was quite different and I couldn't figure it out. So I was happy for this program. This New York was different. And then a living will is a different document.
Yes.
And you need a lawyer.
No. 5 wishes are here. You don't need a lawyer. The 5 wishes document, which I'm going to hold up. I have it here on display, but I'm going to hold it up. Going to unclip here.
So what's the other name for the 5 wishes?
It's called the
Is that-
5 wishes. It's a living will, and I think it's valid in 48 states of the United States. I don't, so even if you go to Florida for the winter, for example, right? Or Arizona, I believe Florida is valid. If you need more information, you can log on to the computer, you could call them, they tell you. I also brought you the little healthcare proxy cards that you could put in your wallet, they're wallet size. But they're useless if you haven't documented who your surrogate is gonna be. So before you fill it out, you have to make sure you talk to somebody and you select a healthcare agent. Otherwise, having this in your wallet is useless.
When I'm in Houston,
Yeah.
and something happens, they would, of course, you must have to have a copy of this with your doctor so that let's say you have an accident, this person is gonna make these decisions, and let's say you're in the hospital, how is that?
But you have it in your wallet also, okay? Let's say you have an accident and they look in your wallet or in your phone. If a Good Samaritan or even EMT comes, where they're gonna look? They're gonna look in your wallet for identification purposes, and they're gonna look in your phone.
So they would have to call that person.
Yes, absolutely. That's what happened in a family that I know very well. The woman went to BJ's with her walker. You know what BJ's is? It's one of these superstore. She didn't feel well. And so she sat on her walker. Good thing. Just get out of the store. No, she had a shopping list, so she was not going to leave the store. So she continued and she didn't feel well. And an employee saw her and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, are you okay?" And she said, "Not really." And they called 911 and 911 came to BJ's, and you could be sure that BJ's wanted her out of the store as soon as possible for liability purposes. And they looked in her wallet and she had the card, and they called the person on the card, was a local person. And they said, "We're taking her to this and this hospital, to the ER. Try to meet us there." And the healthcare agent met them there. But if they can't meet them, at least they can give directions and directives and say, "Yes, I'm responsible for her. Is she conscious? Can she say, oh, she fainted a little bit?" Then she's not really reliable anymore. So it's very helpful to have somebody designated. I have it on my phone. I have it in my wallet. I have it documented. My doctors have it. And you know, nowadays, when you go to a doctor, it's a whole system and all the charts are in the computer. And I have a doctor for the heart, and I have a doctor for my tushy, and I have a doctor for this and that. But once it's in the computer system, in the portal, as they call it, then every doctor who sees you will have access to it.
So what about when they have, let's say my neighbor had an accident and they put that tube in her throat and broke her teeth, several teeth. So if she had a healthcare proxy, would they still have to do that legally? You said they have to legally do that, an EMT.
An EMT has to intubate her, yes.
You don't
They
have to
did
say-
not have what we also call, yeah,
The healthcare proxy, what would it?
also the proxy would have said she doesn't want it. Do not
So
intubate.
then it's not legal if you have a health. They don't have to if you have it.
If they can reach them. So I did not discuss because I didn't want to be completely overwhelming. There's another document. It's called the DNR. Do not resuscitate. Okay. Do not resuscitate or do not intubate. Two different directives. When you go to a hospital for any procedure, if it's removing your toenail or a little hernia surgery where you go in, it's done, and you come home, they give you a document to sign. Do you want to be intubated or resuscitated if something goes wrong? Things can go wrong. Medicine is not just perfect. And you sign it. That's good for while you're in the hospital. That's a hospital-based DNR. It's valid while you're in the hospital having a procedure, or even if you are admitted, you have a broken hip and you need to go to the hospital and it takes a few days. And in the meantime, your heart is not working so well and in the hospital for a few days. You have a do not resuscitate or do not intubate order for that hospital. Once you go home to a rehab facility or your own home, that DNR does not travel with you. It's no longer valid once you go to a different facility. So I've gone to people's homes. They have a do not resuscitate order on their refrigerator because they're in their 90s. They don't want any heroic measures. If the aide calls 911, she has to show them this is a DNR for at home. It's valid 90 days. It needs to be signed by your physician or by an NP, a nurse practitioner, but it's valid for 3 months. Have that. Unless it scares you. I have photos on the refrigerator and I'll make room for my DNR order if I have
So
to.
why is it for only 90 days?
That's the way the law is. I'm not a legislative
You're not doing it.
person, no.
We have one.
Might not understand that when one is intubated, it is usually connected to a ventilation that is associated with life support. Okay, it is mandatory for the paramedic to, as policy, as protocol, to intubate if it's necessary until further notice.
They take you to the hospital.
Yes, intubation is connected to life support. It's a
Right.
ventilator that keeps you alive.
Right,
DNR is like.
right. The DNR says,
Yeah.
relieve my pain. If I fractured something, put a, not a cast, but put a brace on it, support my neck, do whatever, but do not intubate me, okay? Do not give me life support. I don't want it. And it came up a lot during COVID. And I had this conversation in my own home because I am very specific. I never want to be intubated under no circumstances. And my son, who is a physician, said, but mom, during COVID, we put it in, and then when the lungs heal, I could take it out. And that's true. During COVID, many people were again weaned off and they were able to resume life. I didn't want any. I don't want it. Even if I can be extubated and I can start to recover with my own breathing, I didn't want it. He had trouble hearing that. But those are the individual decisions that you can make because I wouldn't want my teeth knocked out and my throat scratched.
And being sedated.
Be sedated, whatever. Yes, Zoom people, speak up. I'm not scary. How many are there? How many are on Zoom?
It should 17 now that are, yeah,
Okay.
12 now.
If you have a question, now is your chance. I don't charge.
It's my slide.
I'm not scary.
Hello?
Yes, I hear you.
I have a question about lawyers. For a living will, you don't need a lawyer. But what situations is it just like say for a different type of will that you would need a lawyer? What other types of future planning situations would you need a lawyer for?
I don't think that you absolutely need a lawyer for anything. Lawyers are often pricey and sometimes have their own agenda, but an elder care attorney is really specialized in dealing with these kind of issues. Yes. So there is a financial will, what we call the last will and testament, about our assets and all things financial. I think you can download that even on the internet and fill it out yourself. I'm always hesitant to do everything by myself because I'm afraid I'm going to miss an important point. So it's worth it to have 1 or 2 consultations with an elder care attorney.
What about NILAG? You think
NILAG is good for that.
They do
NILAG,
consultations, so
yes.
that'd be good.
It's they don't
Definitely
charge.
NILAG, NYLAG.
NILAG does not. NYLAG.
If you want any referrals to NILAG, I do that.
They
with,
have them.
a relationship with them. I
Yes.
I'm Gigi. I'm the social worker here at RSS. I've worked with many members here. I've referred them to NILAG. They have a specific program to help you with life planning. So what they will do is go over the healthcare proxy form. They will go over the living will, the last will, and some estate planning as well. A lot of members, especially those that are solo agers, right? I think that's one of the dilemmas that they come across, that they're just like, I don't have a friend or a child or anyone that I know to make
Rely
this rely on. Thank you. But NILAG will like work with you to see what your options are. A lot of the members I did refer are those solo agers. So they will just break everything down and it's an easy referral. And they do long distance as well. They really want you to meet with them at the end when they're finalizing paperwork. But they're a very great team there, and they would go over long distance if it's hard for you to travel to Wall Street.
And they have come here when RSS hosted health fairs. They have
Yeah.
come, they've sent 2 of their young attorneys. There are sometimes waiting times to get an appointment, but it's definitely a very good resource.
I mean, Erin, the head attorney, the one that directs everything, she said that they got more funding. So they have now a larger team of attorneys.
Good.
So she's been, I spoke to her personally. We had a good conversation. She's, because a lot of times people are like, oh, is there like an income eligibility? So I asked that as well. And she said, no, like for now we have a lot of people. So we just keep sending me referrals. So if you need that, just meet with me. I could put my information in the chat at the end. So those online as well could connect with me. So I'm able to refer.
It's a great resource. And I want you to reach out to them or to your own lawyers or whoever, or if you have relatives or lawyers who will do it pro bono. I just want you to be aware that when you go into a meeting, be it telephonic, you need to know what you want. Don't, they will help you sort it out, but in general, think about it before you meet with them so that you could tell them what you're really looking for in terms of support. Yeah. Some people say DDD, the letter DDD, death, divorce, difficult diagnosis. I think every 5 to 10 years is a good way. Hey, but things change. There are fallings out. Your life can change whenever you want to. And I find when I review mine, not bad for what I decided 5 years ago. It's reassuring to me to say, yeah, I still feel the same way. I could leave it.
Another question about, say, DNR. You had mentioned that if you have a DNR with one facility, it's not transferred. So, like, let's say you had a planned surgery in one place, so you say sign a DNR for that procedure. Is it still good in that facility? It's not just related to that procedure, that event.
Yeah, no, it is good while you're in that hospital. It stays there during your hopefully short-term admission to the hospital. It's good. But when you leave,
Mhm. If you
You have-
return to that hospital, you have
They're
to do
gonna
it
give you
again?
a new one. They're gonna give you a new
Okay.
one.
Okay.
You know,
And-
just before you go in, while you're lying there and you're so tense and you're in your hospital gown, they shove a whole bunch of papers in
Mhm.
front of you. And I didn't have my reading glasses. And I don't know what I'm reading. Ask them before you go, before the surgery, or if you're donating your own blood before that, or you have a pre-surgery consult. Say, can I see the forms now? Can I read them and sign them then? I'll bring them back if you don't want to hold on to them. I'll bring them with my ID and my insurance card, but they give it very late very often, and it's very frightening and overwhelming.
You'd also mentioned you can, I'm sorry, you can get something, say, on your fridge or in your home, saying what your wishes are, just like say, just for a DNR or intubation. And that needs to be done by a medical professional.
Has to be signed by a medical
Yeah.
professional.
So
For
would
the
someone,
home DNR. Mhm.
would someone just need to go to their physician or whoever they may see and ask for that, and they could get it that way?
Look, when we're doing well, we don't really think of, oh, I should have a DNR on my front door or on my refrigerator. It's not the most beautiful piece of art that we're displaying to everybody. It's also private, you know. It's something that belongs to us in our decision-making ability. But if you are dealing with either yourself or some of us are caregivers with somebody who is in frail condition and who is declining, it's a good thing to say to the doctor, hey, my dad is at home and I check in 4 times a week and we have an aide, but I can't rely 100% on the aide to make a good judgment call. I want to be very proactive. Would you consider it appropriate that we display a DNR either over the bed, if somebody is mostly in bed, or at the refrigerator, as I said? Some people put it in a little plastic envelope so that it doesn't get splashed with tomato sauce if it's in the kitchen. Yeah, it's, you know, doctors normally give you 12.5 minutes when you see them. That's the new way medicine is. But if you have a question and it's important, you must ask the doctor and you must insist on having that little consult. So if you have a trusted doctor, good. If you have a specialist, also good. We are entitled to get answers and appropriate support from our medical establishment, no matter how short-term each appointment is. So be proactive, speak about it. Let's normalize the conversation. We talk about everything else, and we talk about birth, and there is reveal parties and all. Let's have a reveal party about the end of life also.
I have
We
a
don't need the
question.
balloons. We don't need the cupcakes. You know, we don't need anything.
No, and other having like celebration parties when the person knows that the death is, you know, not too far, and they have everybody come while they're alive to celebrate their life. I love that.
It's a beautiful thing because we're not just blah. We've lived a life. We've contributed. We've been productive. Yes, let's highlight it and celebrate it and be grateful for
You
it.
know, knowledge is power, Miriam, and I'll tell you a personal story with my family. My grandmother, never been sick, 83 years old, has congestive heart failure, and then gets sick and goes to the Allen Pavilion here. And you know, me working in the field, I know more than usual what's important. And I also know when someone's close. So I go to the hospital. She was in the ICU. She was intubated actually. But then, you know, she got better. Okay. In a couple of days, I got a call. Oh, grandma's great. she's talking, she's on the second floor. I went, oh,
That's bad news.
she's pepping up to say goodbye. This is what happens in the process. And I said, so I called the family and said, go see her. She's going to die soon. They're like, you're nuts. She's better. You know, the denial piece.
Yeah.
So when I get to the hospital, I stand in front of the door there and I look at her and say, hey, Grandma, how are you? She says, Elizabeth, you know who came to see me last night? Her dead son.
Yeah.
In his uniform. And she says, he came to say hello. I said, did he, Grandma? That's great. Then I really called everybody, and she died that night, but everybody came to see me.
Yeah.
And they got a chance to say goodbye. And, you know, that helped because imagine, we know this in hospice, nursing homes, we have beds in hospice, you know, that we take care of people. And sometimes the staff doesn't call the family. And the family gets there when they've passed. And it's so traumatic for them because they're like, so we always impart to the facilities, please, as soon as you, because we educate them, as soon as we see that this is moving, call the family and have them come. Because it's so important.
Or friends, or people from the knitting club, or
Yes.
from the book club,
Yes,
you
yes,
know?
Yes. Yes.
It's nice to say goodbye and to say thank you, or sometimes to say, forgive me, or to share a secret.
You know what, when I volunteered in Calvary Hospital, the patients used to pull me over to them and say, have you made your peace with God? And there was a one patient, his wife was there all the time. And she told me that he went into unconsciousness. And when he became conscious again, he said, Carmen, it's so beautiful on the other side. It's really beautiful. And then he went into unconsciousness. And when I came into his room, he asked me the same question. Did you make your peace with God? And then he passed away. And she bought me cookies to say thank you for
Allowing it,
you know,
witnessing it.
yeah.
Gigi?
I mean, what I come across as well is like how we mentioned before, we have our families that might not be ready to have that conversation. So I think it would be good to discuss a little bit about, you know, how do you approach your family who you suspect might not be ready?
That's going to be
We
part
did.
2 of the work.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
talked a little bit about it. You
Okay,
know,
okay.
we sometimes, I said it,
Family dynamics.
yeah, I'm hoping that you're coming back
Yes.
and that you are joining us. Don't be scaredy cats,
Yes.
really, because we're here with you and nothing is engraved in stone. Okay, you know what's going to be engraved in stone? Yes,
Yeah, don't.
stone.
I
You're
have a
going to be
question.
here. You can speak privately. Everything is confidential. We don't charge. Okay. We have experience and everybody's different. Everybody is different. But we have seen trends and these inform how we might suggest something. Nobody is forcing you to do anything, but you can bounce it off us. I have said to families, I don't think it's a good idea. As an outsider, I think you should reconsider. And they look at me and I say, I'm here to discuss it further. I'll tell you why. And sometimes they get it and they agree with me. And sometimes they say, no, I still want to do it. And that's fine. I don't hold a judgment. That's fine. I respect you and I'm going to support you and I'm going to accompany you. So come back. We'll help you. You have a week's time. Shampoo time is great for me because the conditioner needs to sink in. So I have quiet time. No phones are beeping. Nobody is delivering an Amazon package. Nothing is in the oven. I have time for myself.
I
I have a question.
2 questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
November 12th.
November
same time,
12th.
In this room.
In this room, I gave you the pens. You
Yeah,
can't
they're
tell.
right here.
You can't tell me my pen ran out of ink. I gave it a 4. You had a question.
I have a question about
Yes.
There's with say a living will, and also there's in the Jewish faith, there's something called a halachic, or according to Jewish law, that type of living will or advanced directive. And I'm wondering if you're familiar with that, and if someone may need to do a standard, more quote, standard living will in addition, if they want that.
If you want rabbinic authority to be involved, it's a good thing to give, to make this person, this rabbi, I would assume, or this person, who can guide you. This person can be part of all medical or family meetings and guide the patient and the family according to the halachic, the Jewish law, the Jewish laws. And then it doesn't have to go. The doctor told me, and now I'm calling the rabbi and telling him, by giving power of attorney, by making the rabbinic authority a healthcare agent, that person can be part of all conversations and decision making. For so much. Email me or call me. Does it answer your question?
Yes, so say this.
I have a question. I signed a DNR with my doctor years ago.
Yeah.
That only lasted 90 days.
Yes. If you wanna have one at home, if you wanna have one at home and you're living at home, renew it. Speak to the doctor and say you'd like to renew it, because it's at home, it's only valid for 90 days.
All right, thank you.
Sure. So thank you for joining.
Oh, well, very
Oh,
no.
I'm sorry.
Back to the halachic will. So if you're appointing a different person to be your health proxy, but it's part of, say, the rabbi is part of that decision making.
It's very much needed. It's very much needed. That type. Where we c'est très important d'avoir un co-worker. It gives you a sense of relief.
Yes.
No, that's scary. And congratulations. You really have
Yes, I smelled that club.
Yeah, I saw the comments.
I already had a win.
Yes, thank you.
There's no conflict. Is it possible? Yeah. My grandma was there. I worked for years. You know, that's
what I understand.
Yeah. But thanks. You're welcome. You're welcome. Liz, stays on the line. And Jen, she's the
Director of Clinical Services and the Deputy Director.
Okay. So social.
here.
30 years.
It would be great if you could email the document. For I thought they were in the chat today.
You can call me.
I'd ask you for what ideas.
You know, you have a very, very good paper for this. I was just like so, very upset. I think that my family would say to my mother, Carol, he was gonna get he was gonna die first. And my mother said, I see nice.
Okay, I don't want to say it. Thorough. I feel better now than I first was. Yes, the document.
For some reason, I telling you, they do like things.
Yeah, I know.
Stand by, they have not.
You're trying to go to, they have a term in.
I think, okay.
And they're gonna do very, very good care as an organization.
Benefit versus.
Because they want.
What would be her wishes?
A lot of, and a guy, and, you know, good much progress, so. Contrary to common belief. Clear about the issues because. Yeah, yeah, every time you go to visit, you know, it's very. And then you're getting, everybody, you were. You know what, I put down, we worked it out, yeah, but I'm a given, so my sister was all. Yeah. But I have that luxury. And this, the whole witness.
That's.
People prepare very. They get beautiful, they come back. The court orders.
Oh, Barbara.
I guess it's over.